Hi, everyone. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Sean McLaughlin, part of the Arizona First Alert weather team here. And welcome to Sonoran Sky, an Arizona's Family First Alert podcast. And I have got a incredible topic to talk to you about today because I know that we've all experienced it living here in the Valley of the Sun. We've all seen them and we've all dreaded their appearance during our summer monsoon, our summer thunderstorm season. We're talking about dust storms, and we have got the senior author of a groundbreaking study of dust storms and ER visits. Please welcome into our podcast Dr. James Crooks. He's from the world-renowned National Jewish Health, an academic and medical clinic based in Denver, Colorado. And Dr. Crooks, welcome to the podcast. Sonoran Sky is the name of our podcast, but when these dust storms roll through, it is anything but here in the Valley of the Sun. Can we just kind of explain your background, how you got interested in this topic? And you have spent over a decade studying dust storms here in the desert Southwest.
Yeah, that's right. So I am trained as a statistician and physicist, but I got really interested in environmental health after I finished my PhD. And one of the issues that fascinated me was sort of health effects of extreme weather events. So things like wildfires and dust storms. And so around 10 years ago, I got really excited about dust storms because other parts of the world, we see a lot of research around health effects of dust storms, like in East Asia and Southern Europe. But in the United States, there really hadn't been much. And so I thought it would be a really interesting thing to work on and could have a really profound impact on sort of public health alerts and things like that in the Southwest.
I'm going to read kind of the question that your study tried to address. Are dust storms associated with the rate of cardiopulmonary and motor vehicle accident emergency department or ER visits here in the southwestern U.S.? Boy, what a great, simple question. So tell us, how did this study come about?
So this study is the culmination of many years of work by myself and many of my colleagues who have been looking at how dust storms are related to risk of various kinds of health outcomes. So things like mortality or ICU admissions, and specifically for things like respiratory ailments or cardiovascular ailments. And so, 5 years or so when we were planning this research, we looked around the literature and we saw that no one had really looked at emergency room visits, which are generally not for as severe things as obviously mortality, ICU admissions. So we're looking at kind of moderately severe kinds of medical outcomes, but maybe not the worst, to see if we could see a dust storm link.
And you guys were very focused. You only focused on 3 states: California, Arizona, Utah. You took 33,500 visits to the emergency room in those 3 states from a very specific time frame. And then you used those patients' zip codes to really kind of dial in and then correlate with the National Weather Service bulletins about dust storms. I mean, you guys really kind of zeroed in and honed in on the right people to figure out this question, didn't you?
That's right. So we were looking at those 3 states, and we had data going back to as early as 2005 for some of the states up through 2018. And as you said, we linked them to National Weather Service storm records. And we were trying to figure out, on the days of the dust storm or immediately after the dust storm, do we see increased risk of, emergency revisits for things like asthma or motor vehicle accidents, congestive heart failure, and for pneumonia.
And again, you said on the day of the dust storm or maybe a couple of days after. So your time frame was either they visited the ER that day of the weather event or what, the next 72 hours?
Yeah, for some of them, we went up to a week later. So for things like pneumonia, obviously that's generally caused by some sort of microbe and may take a while to cause an infection. So for things like motor vehicle accidents, we were looking on the day of the dust storm, but for some of the others, we were looking a little bit further out.
All right, so the golden question is here, Dr. Crooks. What did your study find out?
Well, we tended to find that dust storms were, as you might expect, linked to a pretty significant increase in the risk of emergency room visits for motor vehicle accidents. I'm sure that's not a surprise to anyone in Arizona. And we also found increased risk of emergency room visits for asthma. Again, if you have any kind of respiratory condition, that's probably not a surprise. Maybe a little bit more of a surprise was a link to pneumonia, since again, pneumonia tends to be caused by microbes, and we're looking specifically at microbes that are not tested for routinely. So that was a little bit of a surprise. And then maybe a surprise to your listeners was that we found links to this cardiovascular kind of exacerbation. So looking at people with congestive heart failure, do they exacerbate and do they have to go to the emergency room?
Okay, and that's the fascinating part of your study. As a meteorologist, we've always told people, I mean, once you live out here, you experience our summer monsoon, our thunderstorm season, you know that there is just nasty stuff inside that dust. I mean, these are extremely powerful thunderstorms. I mean, they're towering, 15, 20,000 feet in the air. They release all that cold air. It drops down out of the base of the cloud, and it just rolls up that desert sand and dust. And we're talking farm fields, pesticides, cattle lots. So we're talking fecal matter. I mean, it's nasty stuff inside these dust storms. We've always told people that, but now you're telling, hey, you got to think about your heart health as well if you're caught out in one of these.
Yeah, that's right. And that's not necessarily intuitive. Obviously, if you're exposed to a lot of dust, it may cause your chest, your lungs to tighten. You may be coughing, even if you're otherwise healthy. But the link to your heart is not so obvious. But what happens if the dust is really small and it gets very deep in your lung, it's very hard to cough out. And the only way your body can get rid of it is by attacking it with inflammation. And so that inflammation breaks down the dust, but at the same time, you don't really want additional inflammation in your body. It sort of has these effects that are maybe not so helpful in addition to breaking down the dust. And so it can cause inflammation in the lung, which increases the risk for respiratory disease. But that inflammation doesn't just stay in your lung, it can spread to the rest of your body through your blood vessels. And so what we see is there's inflammation in the blood vessels and potentially even in the heart. And so, if you have a chronic cardiovascular condition and you're experiencing additional inflammation in your blood vessels and heart, that too can tip you over into needing acute medical care.
Wow. So, I mean, it's a banner headline. Just stay out of these dust storms. When you hear these warnings that we give you inside the First Alert Forecast Center, when we text it to our mobile app, you got to heed these warnings, right? You got to pay attention to these weather forecasts.
Yes, please do. Obviously, on the motor vehicle side, you should avoid driving if at all possible. But even people who otherwise might feel healthy should really avoid being outside in these dust storms for all manner of reasons. And if you have a chronic respiratory or cardiovascular condition, you should be even more aware. And if you're even just a child or you have a child, you should really try to keep them inside during those dust storms.
So, Dr. Crooks, during the study, you were able to pinpoint about a 6% increase in ER visits for health concerns after that dust event and a 13% jump in traffic accidents. I mean, these percentage numbers may sound small, but they're only going to get bigger.
Yeah, and it's particularly noteworthy given the large number of people who have chronic respiratory conditions that could be exacerbated by dust storms, and especially the even larger number of people who have chronic cardiovascular conditions that can be exacerbated. So while these numbers may seem somewhat small, in terms of the number of additional people going to the ER, they can be pretty substantial.
All right, so this groundbreaking study was published in February. It represents, like you said, over a decade or longer worth of your work and many, many others that are a part of this study. Okay, it's published, it hits. What's been the reaction?
Well, there are certainly folks around the Southwest who are in local news who are very interested in it. The hope is that the local public health departments and state public health departments in southwestern states are reading this work and folding our findings into their public health alert messaging. And what we'd also like longer term is for the medical folks to read work like this and realize, hey, we should be talking to our patients about this, and not just our patients with respiratory disease, but also our patients with cardiovascular disease.
So do you think, for example, a major hospital company's ER departments maybe spread all throughout the desert Southwest, is this kind of that light bulb moment like, oh, no wonder we get slammed a couple of days after these dust storms?
I certainly hope so. I mean, one of the things that we'd love this research to feed into is in preparations that the hospitals do in terms of resourcing for future events. So if they know that there's a likelihood of, say, a large thunderstorm, a haboob coming through Phoenix, and they may pre-position certain kinds of resources, they may have people work sort of extra shifts in advance of those storms.
Awesome. And then what's the message to all the state transportation departments out there?
Well, we certainly appreciate the traffic messaging to encourage people not to drive during the dust storms, and hopefully this helps them justify, their state budget line to make sure that those sorts of warning systems are fully funded and getting to the people who need them.
What's the next evolution? Where do you go from here with this study?
Well, there are a couple of things we'd like to do. Using the dust storm reports from the National Weather Service is absolutely crucial. But we'd like to augment that with some information from things like satellites or, ground monitoring of particle pollution, and kind of bring all that together so that we can determine more specifically who's exposed to the dust storm, and also how intense their exposure was. Because right now we know very broad areas that are exposed. We can't really tell who within that area was exposed to more than someone else.
And with your time frame, you started looking at this in 2005. These major weather events, they're getting worse. I mean, it's not a secret. We've been talking about it. Does the data back that up?
Does seem to. It's very hard to predict dust storms more than hours
Yes.
or days away. But
Yes, they are.
from a from a sort of climatic perspective, there is a lot of data supporting the fact that as the climate warms, temperatures go up, but also rain gets more intermittent. So you get longer term times without rain, meaning that drought becomes more and more of an issue in many places. And when you have drought, that's when the top cover on top of soils will die, and the soil gets more exposed to wind. And so the wind is more able to pick it up. So that's kind of the prediction going forward, is more drought is probably going to lead to more dust storms in the future.
Right. And it all comes down to messaging, right? I mean, how important is public health agencies? How important are meteorologists like us here at Arizona's Family getting that word out? How important is that messaging from all these different state agencies just to get it to the general public, just to give them the knowledge and the tools to say, hey, I got to get my kids inside. I got to get inside. I see this dust wall rolling up. I hear the alert on my phone. I got to take this serious.
I think it's really, really crucial, because a lot of the health effects that we're finding are not necessarily intuitive. It really require a lot of reinforcement by those folks that you were talking about, whether it's the highway department saying, no, for real, please don't drive, or it's a public health agency or a doctor saying, it can be, you may not feel like you're at risk at the time, but some of the health impacts that we're seeing are actually delayed a few days. So even if you feel fine outside in a dust storm, it can really harm you over, a week.
Yeah. And so your advice to all those listeners out here that maybe are tired of hearing my voice when I'm telling them to go inside, what's your advice?
The best thing you can do is stay indoors. If you're driving, pull over somewhere safe where no one's going to hit you and you're not going to hit anyone, and just wait it out. These things usually blow over in, an hour-ish, and it's much safer to just avoid being outside in them if you can.
All great advice that we continue to pass along to our great viewers. Dr. James Crooks from the National Jewish Health, the academic and medical clinic based in Denver, Colorado, with his groundbreaking study of ER visits and dust storms in the desert Southwest with Arizona, California, and Utah combined. So thank you so much, Dr. Crooks, for joining me on Sonoran Sky and Arizona Family First Alert Podcast. Until next time, we'll see you on the news.